Hello, Meowdy YouTube! Welcome back to another video. My name is Saphwyn, this is the NochuVTuber, and today we are watching some casual geographic. As always, the original video is linked down below, so if you would like to go support the original creator, Casual Geographic, go check out the video down there and check out his channel for more content. Absolutely phenomenal content, very engaging. I've reacted to quite a few Casual Geographics now on the channel. They will all be in a playlist on my channel if you want to watch more of me. They are all over there. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. We are going to watch the top 10 animals with Black Force energy, which means these are all the animals that do not give a F in the nature, and it's a really fun video. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy hanging out with me. I am a biologist. I have worked with wildlife and I have worked with domesticated animals. So I will try and add all my little fun little tips and whatnot and my expressions as we watch it. But if you want to support the channel even further, go check out the Patreon. It is the best way to support the channel. And if you like anime, you should go do it because it's all like anime content as well as some bonus content. But let's dive into the video now, shall we? It is time! Let's go. Oh. Did he just fall off a cliff too? Is that a ledge? Oh no, I hope he's okay. Oh no.
Black Air Force
no.
energy. Good old Urban Dictionary defines it as a person or an object that has insane potential and is crazy enough to deal with anything without fear or hesitation, regardless of moral alignment, including its own rivals or competitors. And despite clearly taking grammar lessons from NBA Youngboy, I'd say whoever wrote that was pretty on point. It's a term.
Look at these examples real quick. I have to point out these examples in the bottom left here. Please read them. These are the examples that they're using out here on Urban Dictionary.
I use a lot in my videos without really explaining exactly what it is. So here's a full list of the top 10 animals with the most Black Air Force energy. Some animals are an obvious pick, others might just surprise you.
There's a lot of wildlife out here, out in the vast worldwide, that can qualify, I think, in this category. So I'm really excited to see what these 10 are.
But they've all earned their spot, including the animal at number 10,
let's go.
which might have the least clout of any animal on this list, but that's only because it's found one place in the world. Because if this bird were airdropped across the globe, it'd definitely be more known for all the wrong reasons.
Fair. It's the bird, right?
Starting off is what happens when an animal is too smart for everyone else's quality of life. The Kia is a large parrot that can be found terrorizing the people of New Zealand. And don't let it fool you, this Black Air Force with a Grinch colorway is an op in every way.
I ain't gonna lie though, a lot of birds, especially of like the parrot variety, kind of give off this energy.
They're highly intelligent and armed with a hook-shaped beak, which is the perfect tool for Kias to inflate insurance by picking apart cars. You see, the Kia is smart enough to associate people and the cars we drive with food, which is why this anti-mechanic is famous for committing the cutest carjackings you'll ever see. Of course,
would the insurance in New Zealand cover the Kiwi or cover this? What? Surely it covers this, right?
They don't just stop at cars. This feather fella will go through purses, backpacks, duffel bags, and swipe anything they can fly away with. There was even a case where this airborne pirate stole the passport of a Scottish man that didn't want to be identified. Because no one.
That's like the when they visit, I think it's the Southeast Asian countries. Is that what I'm thinking of, with the monkeys, and the monkeys come and start swiping everyone's like valuables? I think that's what I'm thinking of. Not 100% sure there, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I know the monkeys also love stealing stuff.
Wants to be remembered for getting denied from your home country because you got your passport pickpocketed by a panhandling parrot.
That's crazy.
It happened to him and it can happen to you. But guess what? If you happen to get your wallet snatched and try to see the Kia about it, be prepared to also eat a several $1,000 fine and even jail time. Kias are protected by the government.
I guess so. No. I don't know why I said but there. I'm glad that they're protected because they are a native. Blah, blah, blah. I can't speak. I'm glad that they're protected because they are a native species to New Zealand and they should be protected like that. I don't know why acts of surprise, but I am so glad for that.
It only makes sense that something with wings would be above the law. And it's almost like every Kia knows it and acts accordingly. But it's not just humans getting griefed. Kias will regularly raid other birds' nests and make omelets with their unborn children. And they'll use that Swiss Army knife of a nose to remove parts of a living sheep to eat. And there have been reports of them victimizing dogs and even horses. But at least the Kia isn't a legitimate physical threat to people. The next animal's responsible for putting more.
I feel so bad for the sheep. Imagine going out to the pasture and getting attacked by a bird that you can't do anything about.
Zookeepers are workers comp than any other animal.
That's just nature, guys. That's nature. Okay, 9.
The African wilderness has some of the most ways to F around and find out per square mile in the world. So it makes sense that living in the most dangerous area codes in the world has turned the zebra into an actual psychopath. This oppressed Oreo horse has the strongest kick in the animal kingdom, strong enough for Marty to have written Alex out of the sequel. Which is why even though lions body them often, every once in a while a lion has to explain to his ancestors how he got flatlined by a high-strung equality donkey. But the generational anxiety of being constantly hunted means the zebra will often one-shot something for existing too close to it. There's 2 reasons why you won't see a person riding a zebra. 1, they're too small. And 2, every zebra is fundamentally a bastard to its core.
I feel like zebras are very stubborn out here in the animal kingdom. They give off the stubborn vibes. And of course they would have the strongest kick because that's how they deal with, you know, their predators.
No,
that makes sense.
Because many mother zebras will actually mate with as many males as possible.
What?
Because if she's showing and he suspects it's not hers, he'll violently press her until it's terminated. And if the baby's already out, that's just an invitation for him to demote her from mother to mourning. And going back to humans, zebras are infamous for allegedly putting as many zoo staff in the ER as any other animal.
Well, I think too, with when it comes to zookeeping, you think the zebra is going to be, I don't want to call it domesticated because it won't be domesticated because it's a life, like a wild animal. But you think they would, so like, I think people think a zebra is showing similar traits to like a domesticated donkey, horse, whatever it may be, pony. And so when you're in the zebra enclosure, sometimes I feel like people let their guard down. Not 100% sure. I've never worked with zebras in my past life. But I'm just thinking, like, I feel like that's an animal that people aren't always on guard for when they should be. You know what I mean? Does that make sense if I say that?
They may look like horses whose favorite part of a birthday is the finger painting station, but this panda pony's liable to paint the block with your insides if you breathe at them the wrong way. Treat one like a barnyard animal and negotiate your left hand.
But you have to. At the end of the day, if you're an African prey animal, you have to take drastic measures like this, where they're very aggressive towards people, or not people, very aggressive towards other animals with a powerful kick, because that's their only chance at survival, right? Like, you have to have these defense mechanisms as a prey animal here in Africa.
Zebras are genetically closer to donkeys than horses. Calling it the ass of Africa is a scientifically accurate title.
He's just
and
chilling.
as the default protein of many of the landlords of the savannah, it's a title they hold with pride, because it's the best one they can get. 10% off is also what you can expect if you treat this barcode horse as a petting zoo. But at least they have the excuse of constantly being plotted on. The next animal has less excuses, but more.
That was a fun fact for me. I never knew that they went after the colts. I'm assuming they're colts, but I don't know. But the babies, I never knew that the male would go after the babies if it wasn't theirs.
Disrespect.
Sometimes I think the way that the mating rituals in the wildlife are like behaved towards and treated are a little interesting, and it's always exciting to learn more about how animals treat each other. Number 8.
Deer manage to cause billions of dollars in damage a year by playing freeze tag with cars, and that ironically makes them the most dangerous animal in America. But where blissful ignorance makes deer a threat, the deer of Down Under initiate conflict. 9 out of 10 car accidents in Australia involve kangaroos, and a good number of them are premeditated and not by the driver. Kangaroos assault vehicles with enough regularity to commit insurance fraud.
What? No! What? At least like a deer doesn't jump onto your windshield.
In fact, kangaroos will regularly beef with inanimate objects. But it's not just a bluff. These are some brolic marsupials, armed with claws, but more importantly, a sharp dagger of a toenail.
They do have sharp claws. So fun fact, I worked with 2 gray kangaroos, which is your smaller species of kangaroo. Typically, a lot of people, when they think of the big jack kangaroo, that's a red kangaroo. That is your biggest species of kangaroo down here in Australia. I also worked with little wallabies, but like our kangaroos were pretty chillax. I didn't run into any incidents when I worked with them, but they're so adorable and I love them. But like, you know, keep your distance, have your guard up whenever you're working with them, because you never know, at a flip of a switch, their attitude could change, whatever. And I say that with any wild animal that you are near, even in a zoo facility, like, because sometimes kangaroos are in like a petting zoo when they're in Australia, when they're used to humans. But always make sure you keep your guard up if you're ever around a wild animal in a scenario like a petting zoo or anything.
Just why it's not a kangaroo's punch you have to worry about, but that Jurassic pedicure disembowel. It's what makes their sparring sessions so lethal. That and the fact that kangaroos start every day with the specific goal of inconveniencing as many life forms as possible. If you happen to fly a drone in kangaroo country, prepare to have your insurance tested. In fact, it's not a stretch to say they hate anything that flies. Can you imagine how ridiculous this could have gotten? Imagine people thinking you died paragliding when really you survived but got mobbed by a pack of roid rabbits on impact. Kangaroos are number 8 because there's really no good reason for this. You see, as dangerous as Australia is, there aren't really any dominant apex land predators. While kangaroos often contend with dingoes and the occasional wedge-tailed eagle, a full-grown kangaroo doesn't have much that can threaten it.
The wedge-tailed eagle tries to go after the kangaroo? Is that what I'm seeing here? Or why is he contesting with the wedge-tailed eagle? It looked like in that clip that he might have been going after him. I'm not 100% sure. Or I guess that he's flying and kangaroo hates flying things, so probably boxes him, right?
Other than a bigger kangaroo. So my working theory is,
yeah, they're terrifying.
They got cocky. And until nature airdrops some bears or maybe some type of big cat, kangaroos are still gonna be out here thinking they can do whatever. Try to change their mind at your own risk. As on-site as these malicious macropods are, they're not even the most disrespectful animal in Australia. And believe me, we'll get to that.
There's a lot of disrespectful animals in Australia. But at the end of the day, like he just said, they have no natural predators. Dingoes will go after them. But, you know, the success of a dingo depends on how they hunt in a pack, if they're hunting in a pack or not. Because dingoes do have that really sharp jaw that can latch on. But at the end of the day, like if a dingo gets, you know, nailed by its legs or its claw, the dingo might be hurting. So it kind of depends on the scenario there. And a lot of kangaroos travel in like these herd type environments. So no, I shouldn't say a lot. There are solo kangaroos. There are kangaroos like you saw in the video. They're duos, trios, whatever it may be. There's a lot of fighting amongst the kangaroos. Mainly the number one predator to a kangaroo is humans, cars, driving, all that, you know, jazz down there. But it always depends. You never know.
Number Big Five refers to the top 5 most dangerous animals to hunt in Africa. These include the elephant, the rhinoceros, the lion, the leopard, and an animal so feared it's been nicknamed Black Death.
I feel so. I don't know if you guys saw that article. I see YouTube. I don't know how involved you are when it comes to animals. There was an article that was just posted, not regarding the buffalo, I think is what we're about to talk about, but regarding elephants and tourism in like Africa, where there were tourists who gave elephants alcoholic beverages to get the elephants drunk. If you're curious, I recommend you Googling that and reading that more. But I like read that and I'm like, why? Like if you are here as a tourist, and why aren't you respecting your environment as said tourists? Like these animals are not animals to be messed with for your own enjoyment. Like please do not mess with them. And it was just like heartbreaking for me to see that article. But if you are curious, I recommend you go Google it. It did happen. I think it happened like a month ago, maybe from when this video was posted, but I do recommend it. So go Google it if you want to know more about, you know, the wild stuff the tourists do to unfortunately disrespect their surroundings. All right, buffalo time.
The African Cape buffalo is a walking attempted homicide case armed with a pair of horns to make most attempts successful. They have one of the highest KD ratios against humans.
Look at the horns.
In some places, these tanks with road rage and 50% of the people they go after, and a lot of that is because they will actively seek revenge. There have been stories of one buffalo murking the same hunter that took out a member of its own herd. And whether you're a lion or a hunter, these trench cows get it back in blood. And the scary—
See, they gave the zebra that really powerful kick, and then you have this over here, the buffalo, and look at the horns of this thing. Like, imagine this being jabbed into you.
The earliest version of a Cape buffalo is one that's already been injured. Hunters have followed a mortally wounded buffalo into thick brush, only for the freight train with legs to circle back and ambush them from behind. Which is why the #1 rule when hunting Cape buffalo, assume you only have one shot because that's usually all you get. But it's not just humans getting bodied. Bloodlusting buffalo will seek out unsupervised lion cubs and log them out of life before they can grow up to be a threat. Not like the adults aren't at risk either. Capes will stalk and circle lone lions, using the threat of gang violence to give Mufasa a roommate. Which is how the same apex predator that can solo multiple hyenas can get sent up a tree like a house cat. They're like the Liam Neeson of animals. Wrong them and they make their life's mission to co-sign your obituary. That first hit—
He went flying there. That makes sense of why they attack the predators, especially when they're young. You know, less competition to get out the young predators. But that's so crazy that they do that to me. Oh my.
Everything after that was a personal choice. And even though experienced lions can take them down, it's still very much a gamble. Especially since they can travel in herds.
Wait, what did he just say there? Hold on. He had a little thingy. If only the lions in Detroit had as good as an event. Wait, what happened to the lions in Detroit? Wait, what?
Gamble. Especially since they can travel in herds of hundreds. That's also how they earn.
Is that a sports team? I thought that might be a sports team. That might be. I might be onto something. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not from the United States, so if it is a sports team and I hurt your feelings because I don't know, I guess what the Detroit Lions are, I am so sorry.
The nickname Widowmaker, because right now there's at least one woman on Tinder because her husband decided to hunt a 1-ton vibe check while the buffalo decided—
I just heard that right? Her husband?
Hundreds. That's also how they earned the nickname Widowmaker, because right now there's at least one woman on Tinder because her husband decided to hunt a 1-ton vibe check while the buffalo decided that would be the day he'd finally live up to his nickname.
Sorry about
It's a murderous mammal, but like the zebra, it's often just self-defense gone way too far. Not like the antics of the next animal. If you're talking about the Black Air Force of the sky, you're probably talking about crows, or really just corvids in general. Crows are smart enough to manipulate their environment to their advantage, but they're also devious enough to manipulate other animals for their own sadistic pleasure.
Speaking about manipulating other animals, okay, first of all, fun fact, your blue jay is part of the corvid family, if you guys know what the blue jay is. And there's a video of a blue jay standing up to a canary, that's like the typical red bird. So he's standing up the canary. He's mimicking the call of a hawk to get the canary to leave, like I don't know, I think it was a bird feeder or something. But he's yelling at the canary as he was imitating a hawk call to get the canary to leave. And I was like, bro, you're too smart for your own good.
I don't know what that crow said to that cat, but it certainly involves someone's mother. Ravens will weaponize their relationship with wolves to call out hits on competing coyotes. Crows in Tokyo have especially become a problem where they've basically gone to war against the entire human population. But it's not just humans getting bullied. There might not be a worse time to be an owl than in broad daylight surrounded by a murder of crows. Not to mention crows will often raid the nests of other birds for a disturbingly literal kids meal. And that's when they're not just straight up snatching minors in front of their parents. I think EDP just found a spirit animal. They'll regularly mob and harass other birds until they drop the food they've already caught. And crows won't hesitate to beat on much larger birds of prey, which might explain why they do the exact same thing with humans to get them to surrender whatever calories they have on them. But the avian onslaught peaks out with the Australian magpie. Now, turns out they're not.
Wait, Australian magpie? Well, the Australian magpie is a way other breed. Also, people don't realize how smart corvids are. If you're ever curious, go look at corvid experiments of them picking up sticks and using them to basically unlock boxes and stuff. Very intricate, very cool to see, and I do recommend you, if you are curious about the corvid, to go do some further research and look at all of that.
Actually corvids. They actually sit closer to another bird with psychopath tendencies. Either way, Australian magpies manage to be the most feared thing in a country seasoned with crocs, cassowaries, and snakes. And while most wildlife is harmless as long as you respect their space, the earth is their space, and they have no patience for trespassers. To the point where many Australians have taken to wearing helmets to protect themselves from the magpie's malicious intent. Especially...
I mean, if you're on a bike, you should be wearing a helmet, no? To begin with.
During swooping season, where magpies will relentlessly attack anything that gets near their nest. Actual human lives have been lost to this goth Tweety's tantrums. And since corvids can remember faces, once you've been swooped, you can expect the same treatment next year. I think Tirzu said it best. Corvids are what would happen if you gave monkeys wings. But at least in the magpie's case, they're only a legitimate threat to a human way of life for the roughly 6 weeks of swooping season. Next animal is one of the biggest dangers to humans all year round.
Next animal. We're in top 5 now.
It was really only a matter of time before the river rhino made an appearance. Widely considered the world's deadliest mammal.
Look at that piece. Look at that chunker. Hippos are one of my top 5 animals. Fun fact, everyone.
You may have noticed that hippos weren't included in the big 5, and I have to assume that's because nobody that has a desire to see the next day would actually hunt them. Arguably, no animal has a harder working PR team than the hippopotamus. First of all, it's not the goofy lard donkey it lets you think it is.
Look at him.
A thin subcutaneous fat layer means hippos are actually walking units. And despite their awkward appearance, hippos can outpace any human over short distances, and that includes on land and in water, where they somehow become even more territorial. Hippos have been known to lower the census totals of other animals for seemingly no reason. Just when an antelope thinks it's been bailed out, the slaughter horse does origami with its spine. And even though they're supposed to be herbivores, every once in a while they'll give into the temptation of tasting.
I was just about to ask them. I thought that they were herbivores, and meanwhile they are still out here killing other animals. Crazy.
The flesh of their victims. Cannibalism is not off the table.
So I guess they're temporary omnivores when they want to be, question mark? They're primarily herbivores though.
I don't really know why exactly they do this, but science doesn't account for an animal just being a dick. Few predators will press this obese water pig, and those that do so at their own risk. Hippos are so carnage happy that the biggest threat to a baby hippo is a bigger, meaner bull hippo. It's how a hippo baby shower can legitimately end in a rain of flesh confetti. Now, to be fair, plenty of animals resort to infanticide. Hippos are just really mean about it. Like I said, nobody's PR team works harder. Except maybe dolphins. Which makes sense, since despite resembling ungulates like warthogs and rhinos, the hippo's closest living...
You know what PR team works really hard, but works in a really negative way? Is the PR team for bats in Hollywood. They're portrayed in such a horrible way because, you know, Hollywood made them out to be these big, mean meanies, villainous, but they are not as mean as they seem.
Relatives are...
Sorry, I'm always a little sad about the fact that bats are portrayed as these big, evil things.
Actually, cetaceans like dolphins and whales.
They
Instead of making it out in the ocean, hippos decided to make a living griefing everything in its area code. And I mean,
imagine if a hippo was still in the ocean, because... I don't know if you just heard them. Hippos are the closest to cetaceans, which are your whales and dolphins. And I think it's crazy to think about, but then if you look at like the blubber of a whale, the composition of a whale, and you compare it to a hippo, similarities do arise there. But isn't it crazy that those two animals are the closest relatives?
Even mention the way they claim that area code.
I would never want to mess with one of these. Ever. Yep, there it is.
You know, if you unsubscribed right now, I wouldn't blame you. The only thing that can make this whale Karen more of a menace than it already is if it were a straight up predator. Or if
They come after
in
cars?
packs. Then again, that would literally make
I guess territorial. I'm stupid there. He could definitely total your car, flip it over and everything.
it an animal further down this list.
I don't know, they're still cute to me. Maybe I'm biased, guys. Anyone else find hippos cute?
My personal bias was not going to keep the elephant off this list. Asian elephants especially get themselves into trouble by raiding villages and emptying out their rice supply, which is why Asian elephants are responsible for the bulk of human hashtags, especially since they can be just as vengeful as the Cape buffalo. Earlier,
I must say, he is so creative with the way that he says, I guess murder, when animals murder a human, because that does happen. But he said them in such unique ways throughout this whole video.
this year,
If you didn't realize that, you might have to go back and rewatch them, pick them all up.
a man in Thailand had an elephant working hauling wood in the brutal heat, which is illegal. And apparently the
Yeah.
elephant knew his rights because he proceeded to rip his boss in half. And of course, we gotta address the... I'm better than that. One elephant traveled over 100 miles to Merca.
Okay, in a scenario like that, like you're doing something very illegal, and it was probably due to these reasons. I feel like, you know, that's a little unfortunate that he lost his life, but that wouldn't have happened if you were not breaking the law.
70-year-old woman collecting water, only to pull up to her funeral to attack the soul evicted body, this time in front of her family. The biggest mystery of mankind is what motivated a 4-ton pachyderm to pack up an elderly woman twice. If he had a reason,
Interesting.
it's not like he's gonna tell us. Elephants rank over hippos.
You know what? He probably had a bad, and this is horrible to say, he probably had a bad experience with humans in the past and took it out on like the next human he saw and had access to. And that sounds horrible, but that's probably what happened. It was like a memory association thing when it came to humans.
Hippos commit war crimes in the heat of passion. When an elephant catches a body, you can almost be certain it was premeditated. And it's in populations that have been fragmented by poaching, where young male elephants really fly off the handle. And bull elephants are already pretty high-strung as it is, but they managed to get worse in communities decimated by poaching, to the point where 3 elephants in South Africa were responsible for deleting 63 rhinos as well as charging at people. Now, to be fair, poaching typically targets older bulls, and research shows that without old heads around, younger male elephants go into must a lot sooner than they should. Which I get.
See?
What I don't get is why that has to involve turning a rhino from a tight end to a wideout. What you have to remember is that elephants are intelligent enough to experience every human emotion like compassion, empathy, and grief. But for every headline like this, you
When the elephants came to mourn the elephant whisperer.
might get a headline like this.
Oh, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you
Headline
go?
like this, you might get a headline like this.
Elephant woman and returns to her funeral to what? He returned? Wait, what? Bro, why does he have such a hard vengeance on this person?
And if elephants wore shoes, they'd rock the biggest black Air Forces the world's ever seen.
They would.
But that's only because the next animal on this list doesn't have legs.
Doesn't have legs. Are we in the ocean?
One of the biggest injustices of cinema is that where dolphins got cast as a lovable flipper,
Okay, so this is number 2. You think? Sure. Is like the honey badger number 1? Sorry, I'm just speculating now. I don't know.
got typecast as Jaws.
Interesting.
Dolphins are the most disrespectful beings in the ocean.
Yes,
Makes sense
they
because
are.
they're basically intelligent hydrodynamic hippos. They regularly bully sharks, use fish heads and live eels as marital aids, commit unprovoked acts of porpoicide, all while letting humanity think they're the good guys. They have mating practices so brutal that I probably can't even talk about them. Just know that what dolphins like to do to each other, guidelines might try to do to me. But we can't talk about dolphins without talking about the biggest dolphin of all. The orca is the most dominant apex predator on the planet.
Look at that breach from him, though. Orcas are so beautiful, intimidating, but beautiful.
It is inhuman. And as if sheer size and intelligence wasn't enough, they typically hunt in pods with the coordination of a wolf pack, which is how this oppressive sea oriole regularly griefs the tankiest animals on the planet. They're such a force that great whites have been known to abandon hunting grounds for up to a year once the steroid quality guppy makes an appearance.
That's cruel.
Probably because they've been known to use the shark's biology against them to rob them of their heart and liver, just to leave the rest of the shark to sink to the abyss. And then there's the fact that orcas often practice their craft on other animals. Which is why if you ever feel bad about penguins getting bullied by seals, I suggest you see what happens when a Navy SEAL joins the Air Force. And while you could chalk this up to hunting strategy, there's also the chance that living life on Roku difficulty means orcas get bored and just start trying stuff. And while it's true a wild orca has never taken out a human, that hasn't stopped them from actively messing with human vessels with disturbing regularity.
The thing is though, realistically, if an orca wants to take out a human, they could. Like realistically, if he ever decides to go take out a human, that human he decides is done for. But I feel like I can't believe they go and mess with boats. I'm not surprised. I feel like they get bored and they see a boat and they all come up with a genius plan and they're all like, okay, let's go mess with the boat.
It's like they know who's ruining the ocean and adjust their behavior accordingly. Either way, orcas are the hughes of all things. Moral of the story, Free Willy should have been put on parole. The only thing more Black Air Force than an animal that griefs everything around it would be an animal that commits atrocities against its own kind. And that's why orcas are only number 3.
Does anyone, wait, I thought we were on 2. Does anyone else think that orcas are very majestic animals though, or just me? I absolutely love them and I think that they are like so pretty. Okay, we're in top 2.
Ask any zookeeper what animal they fear the most. If they don't say chimps, they've never worked with one.
I've never worked. Guys, I have never worked with them.
Is that chimps are 5 times stronger than the average man. And while the number is actually closer to 1.5, chimps have more fast twitch muscles, a stronger bite force, and a stronger grip force. Their ability to use tools is fascinating to watch, until you realize that means they're able to create and use weapons. People often forget that chimpanzees are pack hunting predators able to execute attacks with the precision of early man, and that doesn't just apply to their prey. Chimps in Luongo National Park have been documenting attacking families of gorillas and murking any helpless offspring they can get their hands on. Literally no animal is safe from the violent tendencies of a furious George. But it's the damage they inflict against their own kind that puts them over the top. Chimp casualties often share the same injuries: a disfigured face, missing fingers if not entire hands, and a non-consensual neutering.
Missing fingers? They're biting off each other's fingers? Look at that bite though. If you're a zookeeper or whatever and you get bit by that, like you are SOL there, dog.
Chimps seem to have an understanding of what's important to an animal and they go out of their way to remove it.
That's
it's
crazy.
Why I can show you this picture and you'll understand. And it's why instead of organ donor, I have, if ever maimed by a chimp, just let me die on my driver's license. And it's also why you probably have a better chance of surviving being locked in a room with a lion than in a room with a furry chainsaw with thumbs. The fact that a chimp can get put 6 feet under by members of its own troop guarantees them a spot on this list. The only way an animal could beat that is if something was enough of a menace to be a legitimate threat to itself. And that's exactly what number 1 is. But before we reveal number 1, here's some honorable mentions.
So why... Wait, did I miss why he explained why they go after each other so much? I don't know if I missed it or if I just like didn't interpret it or whatever. But what, do they just go after each other's troop as like a test of power, or they just like woke up and they're like, I don't like you anymore? Is that what happens? I don't know if he explained it. I don't know. I might have missed out of it. But I'm just wondering, like, why are they attacking the same chimpanzees in the troop? I'm assuming it's just like a dominance test and a test of power, and that's how they work their way up, like through the chain to be the alpha chimpanzee or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's surely what it is, I guess. But I feel like, you know, it would normally be like a troop versus troop and not just like we attack everyone within our own troop, if that makes sense. Also, Canadian geese are a different breed.
Canadian goose. For having the most irrational confidence of any animal. They actually almost went extinct, and now they revolve their entire existence around punishing humanity.
Wait, they almost went extinct? They're everywhere now. Swans are also the same way as a Canadian goose.
Because what geese think they are, swans always have been. Wolverine.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize how big that swan was. Like, I knew swans were big, but compared to the dog, massive.
Because they're more than capable of hunting for themselves, but they'd rather tax animals 3 times their size for a living. Meerkats.
And you didn't even touch upon their claws. Look at a Wolverine's claws, and then you'll know why they're here.
For being quite literally the most homicidal mammals on the planet. And now at number 1, to absolutely no one's surprise, the honey badger. The most
the most unbothered, like he's the unbothered king. The definition of an unbothered king is the honey badger. He lives in his own world and he does whatever he wants in this little fantasy world of his.
Unapologetically disrespectful creature on Earth. I have an entire video dedicated to the exploits of this steroid skunk, but here are some highlights. They'll regularly pinch food from leopards and then throw a tantrum if they get caught. They'll take on packs of animals that realistically should be able to one-shot them. But the Oreo weasel has plot armor in the form of crackhead courage. They'll raid the hives of African bees, the same bees that are 10 times meaner and sting 10 times more than their European.
Look at him. He's just out here eating the honey. No F's given. And look at all these bees that are probably stinging him around him.
European cousins. And honey badgers aren't immune to bee stings. They're resistant, but enough stings will flatline a honey badger.
Crazy.
But ask the honey badger if he cares. He won't answer, but you know the answer.
Honey badgers don't care.
Also run fades with highly venomous cobras. If they manage to get bitten, they'll just slip into a cobra-induced coma and then wake up hours later and walk it off like a Sunday morning hangover.
Isn't that kind of cool that they have this natural ability to be able to walk off, you know, a venomous snake? I don't know if anyone else finds that fascinating, but I think it's hella cool that instead of just straight dying, straight being into paralysis, whatever it may be in the venom of the snake, they can go and just sleep it off and then be like, okay, ready to go again.
Even the honey badger's idea of self-defense is as offensive as you can get. As in, they'll reverse their anal pouches inside out and release a smell so pungent it can allegedly paralyze attacking bees. And honestly, any animal that religiously attacks the baby makers of others is a different tier of menace. No other badger represented this better than Stoffel, who once escaped from his enclosure and picked a fight with a neighboring family of lions who nearly mauled him to death. After about 2 months in the hospital, the first thing the affiliated ferret did fresh out was go right back at the same lions to settle the score.
Of course he did.
And that was only one of the hundreds of times Stoffel managed to raise the blood pressure of the people around him. But here's the real kicker. Stoffel was actually hand-raised by humans at a young age and therefore imprinted on them. He had no intention of ever leaving. The whole thing was just a game to him. Because if blatant disrespect were a sport, they still wouldn't play it because anything involving rules goes against a honey badger's belief system. But that's gonna do it for this video. For more consistent content, be sure to follow my Instagram and TikTok. I try to post daily on both. And to further support this channel, my Patreon's also gonna be in the description. But also, like, don't feel like you have to give anything. If you watch the video this far, you've already done more than enough. But other than that, drink water, hug your mother, don't hug a honey badger. It'll never end well. And I'll see you in the next one.
Okay guys, you hear that? Go drink your water. It's water time. Also, we did react to the honey badger video, the honey badger first line video. I have reacted to it before, so if you're curious to go watch my reaction there. I guess I'll link it down below. I will try and find it and have it linked down below for you guys to watch it. And the original video, if you want to go watch it without my commentary, will be linked down below. I hope you guys have a fantastic time. Remember to check out my Patreon. Membership starts as low as $3 Canadian, and there is a sale on annual membership. And we react to anime over there as well as some bonus content. So if that sounds like a good time, check out the Patreon. It is linked down below. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, comment down an animal emoji of your favorite animal that showed up in this video. AKA comment down like a dolphin emoji, the elephant emoji, hippo emoji, whatever you may be. Comment down your favorite emoji of an animal that was in this video. But thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more content. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. And if you guys have any more Casual Geographic recommendations for me, do go check them out. I just made a playlist on the channel too, so you guys can go find all my Casual Geographic reactions. Goodbye, everyone.